From Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh, we flew to the temple town of Khajuraho in Madhya Pradesh.
No one knows why the Chandela dynasty chose to build its capital in this isolated spot. More than 1,000 years later, Khajuraho is still isolated, and only the temples remain. The clusters of curving sakaras, or towers, resemble small-scale Chrysler buildings. But it's not the towers with their simple decoration that tourists shell out $10 to see. Khajuraho's maidens spring to life. They have charm. And there are the couples. Oldies should not try these positions at home without a safety harness and the supervision of a qualified instructor. There are also more specialized activities. Although the ladies' reaction suggests that the Chandelas too regarded such exploits as extracurricular. Why are the carvings erotic? Were they a kind of sex manual for cloistered Brahmin adolescents? Were they to distract the rain god Indra from hurling lightning bolts at the temples? Or perhaps they are tantric images. This cult harbors the appealing notion that gratification of base instincts is a way to achieve nirvana. Maybe they simply depict the way life was in that time and place, unhampered by Old Testament morality. The Zen Hotel is made entirely of marble. Doubtless it's pleasantly cool in summer. At the end of December, we shivered. A cycle ride away through the villages and fields lie the Jain temples. The temple guardian here has a more plausible explanation for the sexual images. A remarkable motif appears in 1,000 minor variants amongst the maidens. A mythical beast rampant twists its head to devour a human figure perched on its back, while another figure at its feet pulls its tail or shafts it with a stick. The beast, the guardian explained, is desire. The upper figure cannot resist and is consumed, while the lower one overcomes carnal temptation. So the carvings are a moral primer. Jains value all life even more highly than Hindus. Some go naked rather than risk harming an animal in the making of clothes. However, as Jains are often businessmen, it may well be that these pilgrims had soups in their luggage back in the coach.
From Khajuraho we took a bus journey which lasted most of the day due to a breakdown to Orcha.
Orcha's palace stands on a rock in a curve of the river. It was built in 1603 so that Prince Jahangir could enjoy the company of his dancing girl, away from the disapproving eyes of his father, the Emperor Akbar. Fountains once played in the courtyards, and enamel work and paintings adorned the walls. These are the camel stables. Part of the palace is the luxurious Sheesh Mahal Hotel. We tried to book this room and failed because of impossible telephone connections. The balconies are encased with jali, latticework windows carved out of stone. Was the visual complexity of the palace designed to please the eye and tease the mind, so that the women of the zenana or harem would forget they were prisoners behind these lovely grills? Did they peer wistfully through the jalis to watch the village women washing in the river below? A stroll away are the chatris, or cenotaphs. These are the final resting places of the rulers of Orcha.
After visiting Orcha, we took a rickshaw to Jhansi, where we stayed the night, and then took the morning train to Gwalior.
Gwalior is a mere 2 hours train from Jhansi, and the wait for the train is just about as long. We are sure of a seat. Our names are on the reservation list.
यार राजीव कहाँ है?
In the midst of the city, Gwalior Fort sprawls over a long outcrop, enclosing barracks, temples, pavilions, and the Man Singh Palace. The palace is whimsically decorated with bands of inlaid flowers and animals, and a row of nursery ducks. It says here, the Vikram Mahal, a pavilion which connects two other palaces, might have been constructed shortly before 1515 AD. The water tank was needed for resisting sieges. Time to fly to Bombay.
From Bombay we flew to the island of Diu off the coast of Gujarat.
In 1539, the island of Diu was ceded by the Sultan of Gujarat to the Portuguese. They immediately set about building this fort. The fort was last attacked in 1961. The Indian Air Force bombed it in a brief war which wrested the island back from the Portuguese. At holiday time, crowds of visitors stream across the causeway from Gujarat, a dry state, to soak up duty-free liquor in Diu. The fishing village of Vanakbara is a 10-kilometer cycle ride away at the other end of the island. The speciality of Vanakbara, Bombay duck. These are not bathing huts on the shoreline, but small chatris or cenotaphs.
From Diu, we crossed the causeway into Gujarat and took a very slow train to the game park of Sasangir. From Gir, we took the bus to Junagadh, from where we made a taxi excursion to Dharadri before getting the bus the next day to Gondal.
The Maharaja of Gondal has his own train set.
Yeah, there are three windows. One is of net,
Yes.
another is of glass, and one of the wooden panel. You see the window.
Oh, yes.
For mosquitoes net, the glass is for just to see outside. It's windy. So everything is done according to the, like here's the servants can sleep.
Oh, I see. And
Yeah,
this
his present Maharaja's grandfather
yes.
and his son, so present Maharaja's father,
Right.
Vikram Siddhi and Gujarat Singh.
And does he have a son? Who
One
will take,
son.
He will take over. Here for the drink.
We stayed for one night at 3 different hotels in what we came to call Faulty Palace. The last heir of the line of Maharajas who owns it calls it Gondal Palace.
शाखों पे सोई सोई चांदनी पेड़ों की शाखों पे तेरे ख्यालों में खोई खोई चांदनी और थोड़ी देर में थक लौट जाएगी रात ये बाहर की फिर कभी न आएगी.
In his youth, the Maharaja had been a Formula One racing driver, and we inspected his collection of 50 classic cars. The Maharaja and I have tastes in common. I have owned 3 of his cars. This august 1936 Packard 2-seater roadster with rumble seat, though alas, mine had no tires mounted on the wings.
धीमा धीमा राग है लहरों के होठों पे भीगी हवा.
The windscreen is only 6 inches high.
लहरों के होठों पे.
I also own this more plebeian 1936 Ford Phaeton, or 4-door convertible, except mine had been folded almost in half by a truck.
जिंदगी के गीत की धुन बदल के देख ले खुलने दे अब धड़कनों की ज़ुबान सुन जा दिल की दास्तां. बहारें हैं, जाती बहारें हैं.
And I own the earliest of these Mercedes sports car models, a 1962 230 SL. I still have dreams about it.
तारों की छाँव में कहने कहानियाँ.
This is a photo of Bhagwat CG.
Right.
He's driving the new engine. Yeah, it's convertible, so it's taken off the roof.
We were informed that because a member of the Greek royal family was staying at the Gondal Palace with an entourage of 14, we would be displaced to the Maharaja's other palace, the Riverside. After lunch, we were told that because of electricity problems, we would have to clear out of the Riverside and move back to the Gondal Palace, after all. I was delighted by the prospect of decanting the Greek royal family, but sadly this was not to be. We were to stay in yet a third palace, the Maharaja's personal home, just behind the Gondal Palace. The Maharaja himself was in London, as we began to feel perhaps we should be. Although we ate 3 meals in the only dining room and sat about the veranda for some hours, we never saw any trace of the entourage of the Greek royal family. The hotel manager, Durgas, gives us a personal tour of yet a fourth palace in the center of town.
की शाखों पे सोई सोई चांदनी, पेड़ों की शाखों पे तेरे ख्यालों में खोई खोई चांदनी, और थोड़ी देर में थक लौट जाएगी रात ये बाहर की, फिर कभी न आएगी. दो एक पल और है ये समा, सुन जा दिल की दास्तां. लहरों के होंठों पे धीमा धीमा राग है, लहरों के होंठों पे भीगी हवाओं में ठंडी ठंडी आग है. इस हसीन आग में तू भी जल के देख ले, जिंदगी के गीत की धुन बदल के देख ले. खुलने दे अब धड़कनों की ज़ुबान, सुन जा दिल की दास्तां.
A museum of the Maharaja's personal effects includes the obligatory sovereign's fashion accessory, a balance to weigh him against tribute.
जाती बहारें हैं, जाती बहारें हैं, उठती जवानियाँ, जाती बहारें हैं,
Finally, the current Maharaja's formative reading habits are revealed.
From Gondal, it was an all-day bus journey to Bhuj in the Rann of Kutch.
The cenotaphs where the rulers of Bhuj are buried. The Aina Mahal, or Old Palace, houses a fabulous hall of mirrors and a miniature pool with toy ships. The Prague Mahal, or New Palace, dates from the 19th century. Did either palace survive the earthquake that leveled the city a week after our departure?
From Bhuj, it was another all-day bus journey to Palampur.
We must have been the first guests of the Balaram Palace Resort ever to arrive by auto rickshaw. It was built as a Nawab's hunting lodge in 1930. By 1996 it was a ruin and was then restored. The landscaped gardens overlook a wildlife preserve and a rural slum where families live under plastic sheets. We must also have been the first guests to plan to depart by bus. When it failed to stop, we had to flog into Palanpur by jeep, just in time to catch the train.
We took the train from Palanpur to Abu Road and then a taxi up to Mount Abu.
Mount Abu sits on a plateau 700 meters above the Rajasthan plain. It's an old hill station, now a destination for honeymooners. We stayed at the Edwardian era Bikaner Palace, formerly a summer bolt hole for the Maharaja of Bikaner. It was virtually empty, and the clock upgraded us to a suite. Upon retiring, there was a knock on the door, and a servant entered with a welcome hot water bottle in each hand. The Bikaner Palace overlooks the Dwara temples. Dating from 1031, these are reputedly the most magnificent Jain temples in India. The marble filigree interiors are astonishing. Regrettably, photography is forbidden.
From Bombay we visited Mathuran and then Nasik, then Aurangabad for Ellora and Ajanta, then to Hyderabad for Devakonda, then via Guntur to Hampi and for a visit to Badami, then to Panjim in Goa, then down the coast to Mangalore to visit Balore and Halibut, then via Tellicherry to Kochi, from Kochi to Munnar, from Munnar to Periyar, then to Kottayam, by boat then from Alleppey to Kollam, train via Nagercoil to Madurai, then Trichinopoli, Tanjore, Kumbakonam, Chidambaram, Pondicherry, Madras, now Chennai, then by train to Berhampur and for Gopalpur, Puri, Konark, then by train to Delhi, back again to Allahabad and by boat to Varanasi, then by plane to Khajuraho, then bus to Orcha and Jhansi, train to Gwalior, flight to Bombay, and then another flight to Diu, then bus journeys and train journeys to Sasangir, Junagadh, Doraji, Gondal and Bhuj, then to the village of Tera in the Rann of Kutch for 2 weeks, back to Bhuj, bus to Palampur, Mount Abu, and then train back to Delhi.